Yeah, okay. All right. Okay. Welcome everyone to March's members meeting. I'm happy that you're all here. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dawn Kovalevsky and I'm this year's president for PPF. I'm having a really super great time serving the membership, and which is totally unexpected. It really was. And it's just been great getting to know all of you. Before we get to some of the fun stuff tonight, because we have a really great program, the board has a few announcements. And firstly, the renewal of the membership of $55 is due by March 31st. To keep your membership active, please pay. We do have 46 members from last year that haven't renewed yet, just so you know that that's what we're missing. You can go to our website and click the renew join button. Once you get the membership added to the cart, you need to click the little cart icon on top to proceed. Someone had trouble with that, and then I went in there and I could see why that wasn't noticeable. Thank you everyone for your support. There's another person. Okay. Just so you know, our website has been updated. So we encourage you to check out the new home and about pages. And so Mark Fitzgerald is not here, but a huge thank you to Mark Fitzgerald and Sarah Lacken-Logsden for their terrific work on the website.
I have a question. Is it possible to find out if we've already renewed?
You did.
Good.
I remember seeing your name on the list. And let me just make sure. Okay. You renewed. So yes.
Hey, Dawn, I had another question. A couple of, maybe a week ago, I started looking at the website and I was looking for a members list, of contact information and stuff like that. And I couldn't find anything. Was that operator error, or was that an omission?
We don't have a members list on the website, and there are reasons for that, as some people may not want to be spammed or contacted. It's not private, so all the people can come in there and spam you. We are looking at some options to do a private members list on our website, so we will get back to you. If there's anybody you want to contact, let me know. Just send me an email and I will forward it to that person if you want to talk to them. So we are trying to do something. It just takes a little bit of time. I've researched and come up with some options. So we'll see what we can do, but it is a lot of work to maintain these things, so we're trying to find the easiest way to do that. Any other questions on that? Okay. Kathy Rady is our vice president and is also serving on the programs and the outings committee this year. Kathy, would you talk about any updates you might have? Oh, you're muted. Sorry. You're still muted. There you go.
Okay, very good. Hello, everyone. We are looking for some 15-minute speakers, members who are willing to volunteer and show some of the work that they're doing right now. We appreciate the people that have already volunteered just recently. And we have our main featured speaker, and we have slots for July, August, September, October. So we'd really appreciate it if we could have some of our members volunteer and show us your work. If you're interested in doing that, if you would email me, and Dawn and I can work on this project of getting you signed up. My email address is Kathy, Kathy, Radie, Radie, 1 @gmail. So show us your good work. We'll be, I know all the members will appreciate if you volunteer. Thank you. Do I have anything else, Dawn? I don't think so. Of the outings, we've got some outings lined up. We're working on it, and I'm taking any suggestions, or if anyone wants to volunteer to help set up some outings, please email me and we can discuss it. But we've got some good outings coming up, especially with the good weather. So we'll keep you informed and we'll post it on the newsletter.
Great, thank you. The programs committee has been working so hard, and we have got a really great lineup for this year. So we're so excited about it. I just we're almost done through, got them fixed up for the year. So we're just cracking down, and we're going to give you some really fun programs. Mm-hmm. Okay. Walter Oliver is in charge of Blue Sky drawers and the library exhibit wall. Would you like to talk a little bit about that, please, Walter, and let people know what the deal is?
Okay, I met with C. Meyer at Blue Sky last weekend to talk about the library wall, and I got the dimensions and stuff. So we know what the how much space we've got to work with. We just need to figure out, it's not that easy to figure out mathematically how many entries we can manage at what size, whether they should be uniform in size, that kind of thing, and whether or not we're going to have a theme. We're working on that, and we'll let you know when we have specifics.
Okay, it was a really great success last year, and I know it's a great way to you guys to get things out there and in the gallery, because that's important. So what about the drawers? Are we needing people?
We always need people to volunteer for the drawers. We're good through May, and we need volunteers for 3-month stints, June moving forward. So anybody interested, let us know. Be happy to have you in the drawers. Good opportunity to get some exposure outside the group.
Yeah, and Blue Sky is really awesome. So to get your stuff in Blue Sky is really, compels me. So that's great. Thank you, Walter. Anybody have questions about Blue Sky? No. Okay. Bob Bergstrom would like to make an announcement about Oregon Society of Artists.
Yes, the photography gallery exhibit is coming up very soon for the month of April at Oregon Society of Artists. Submissions are now open online. If you go to their website under gallery and call to artists, the deadline is going to be March 21st for submissions. I think the drop-off dates are March 28th and March 31st, and the gallery opening will be the first Thursday, which is Thursday, April the 3rd. This year's theme is Capture the Experience, however you would like to interpret that. And this year, the juror is Don Jacobson, who is a longtime PPF member. And Don will also be teaching a workshop on wildflower photography through OSA, April 25th through 27th. And that is on their website also under workshops. And Don, I don't know, did you want to say something about the workshop again?
Sure. The focus is definitely going to be on wildflowers, but also techniques for photographing during midday. The conventional wisdom is that you go back home and take a nap during midday and then go back out in the evening. Well, that's not necessarily true. So like I said, although we will be focusing on wildflowers, there will also be techniques on photographing during the midday. And I've done this workshop before. It's always been a lot of fun, and hope to see some of you.
And there will be a field trip, right? I think on Saturday to the gorge, Columbia River Gorge, and the wildflowers
Yes.
should be peaking in late April.
Yes, Friday will be a brief lecture. We'll spend Saturday in the field, and then on Sunday we'll go over all the photographs that we took on Saturday.
That sounds really fun.
It is.
I have not yet gone out and seen the wildflowers in the spring. Believe it or not, considering I'm a flower photographer, I just have not done that. But that would be really cool. Okay. Does anyone else here have an announcement they'd like to make? Something you'd like to say before we move on? Okay. All right, so as I said earlier, we have some really terrific work submitted for this month's photo challenge, Color Galore. So let's get that started. Okay. Sorry, I lost you literally. Oh, shoot. So much for my skills. What happened to the Zoom? Oh, for gosh sake.
We can see you, Dawn.
I'm still here. You're looking at me searching madly for the, you know, this has happened before, right? I think we've all kind of back to meeting. Oh, thank God. There you are. Okay. And share sound. Okay, can you guys see my screen? I can't hear you.
Yes.
Okay, I heard somebody. Sorry. All right, here we go. It's 14 minutes. Okay. All right. So said that the next year's challenge is going to be different. So it's typologies. And if you're not familiar with that, it's a series of photographs that are similar. So you would submit all chairs, all bikes, but they all have to be similar, like taken from the same level, taken from the same direction. I'm going to show you an example of what I mean, but you can Google this and see all kinds of amazing work. And there is work touring museums from back in the 40s of people doing this. I don't want you to do a grid like I'm going to show you, which is how they're usually shown, but just submit 5. And it's really fun. And you probably have a lot in your piggy banks from your travels and stuff that you take pictures of the same things. So, for example, I was in Mexico and I took pictures of faucets. So this is an example of the same type of thing shown in the same direction. So what I mean is you can do flowers, right? But you could do like all pink flowers, or you could do all roses, but you don't do all flowers in all colors. You want them to have some sort of corresponding theme. And so I also took pictures of these fronts, which were on the slideshow, some of them. So that would be considered a typology. And then one I made in my studio. Here's one where I put petals inside of test tubes. And then I put them together in this grid and it created some sort of really cool abstract. So look at your piggy banks for things that are similar, and then go ahead and Google them online, because there's a lot of remarkable work that is like that. So dig in your files. I mean, it doesn't even have to be like chairs or anything. It could be mountains from the same view, or waterfalls, or cats, whatever you like. That makes sense? Awesome. So I wanted to do something a little different. Okay. Okay, so before we start our program tonight, we have a special guest, Bobby Abrahamson from Franklin Photo. Franklin Photo was started in August of 2024 by Jason Kaplan and Bobby Abrahamson to serve the community darkroom, studio, educational, and exhibition space. So Bobby, would you please take a few minutes to tell us about Franklin Photo, what Franklin Photo offers to the community?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks, Dawn, and thanks, Carla, for recommending me or suggesting that I could speak to you all. I know some of you, I think I came and gave a presentation to the forum several years ago, and I know some of you just through the community, but Franklin Photo is, I don't see everybody right now, but you could raise your hands. How many of you remember New Space Center for Photography? I taught there, so did Jason Kaplan. I had an exhibit there, and it closed, I guess it must have been like, what, 10 years ago almost, or something like that, like 2017, 2015, somewhere in there. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Portland Darkroom, but the challenge with Portland Darkroom is if you're not a member, you only get like 3 or 4 hours every couple of weeks to use the space. And Jason and I lamented the fact that there wasn't a community darkroom, a community photo space for analog photographers. And my brother passed away in November of 2023, and I took some of the money that he left me to start with Jason Franklin Photo, and my brother's name was Frank, so that's the reason why it's called Franklin Photo. And I'll just tell you now, I could type it into the chat. If does that work for people? Are they able to read the chat or copy and paste? I'll type in now just the web address for it. It's just Franklin Photo with an F, FOTO.org. So that's up there now on the chat if you want to click on that and bookmark it. But what we have to offer is it's up in St. John's, which I know can be a bit of a trek for some people. But we both, Jason and I, live in St. John's, and there's affordable rent there, which is a challenge doing kind of a quasi nonprofit, I guess you would call it. And we're right down the road from Blue Moon, which offers us a great kind of synergy. It's primarily an analog photography center, like New Space was, although New Space got into having computers and inkjet printers. We have 12 enlargers in a darkroom. Eight of them were donated by PSU. They came from Oregon College of Arts and Craft. If you ever went there and used their darkroom, these are Omega 4550s. They're like 4x5 variable contrast built-in enlargers. They're like the top creme de la crop of enlargers. We have 8 of those. Then we have 2 Omega D5s, and then we have 2 Bessler 23s. So we have, out of 12 enlargers, we have 10 that go up to 4x5 inch negatives. We have trays up to 16x20, and our sink could actually accommodate 20x24. If somebody wants to bring 2 more trays, then we'd have a full set for those. We have film developing tanks and reels for 35 and medium format, as well as 4x5 trays, I mean tanks and reels that go in the tanks for that. We have Epson 700 scanner, Nikon Cool scanner that goes up to 4x5, I believe. We haven't gotten that plugged into a computer yet. We have a studio space and we have an exhibition space, and right now we have an exhibition by Ken Hawkins. Beautiful platinum palladium prints and silver prints, as well as inkjet prints of Jimmy Carter. He photographed Jimmy Carter since Jimmy Carter ran for governor of Georgia back in the early 70s, and photographed him through his presidency and up until a few years ago. And as you know, Jimmy just passed away this past few months ago. And also some beautiful photographs of Coretta Scott King and John Lewis and some other documentary photojournalistic images. Ken Hawken was a UPI photographer and also worked for an agency. But anyway, we have membership available. We also have hourly rental rate available, and we're really about building community. That's the main thing. We have sliding scales, and we have a number of people that are like on a scholarship, basically not paying anything, getting to use the space. And we want everybody to feel welcome. It's really about the community. We have Sunday morning, once a month, coffee and critiques. We have movie night once a month on a Wednesday night. This would all be up on our events calendar. If you go to our website, you can sign up for our mailing list, and I promise we won't sell that list to anybody, and we won't spam you or bombard you. You'll probably get at most 1 email a week, probably more like one every couple of weeks, every 3 weeks, with the newsletter of events that are happening. And yeah, it's a great space with a lot of energy in there, a lot of young people that are just getting into film photography. And we're hoping to get C41 processing dialed in at some point. We're kind of being cautious about that. We don't want Blue Moon to think that we're trying to move in on their territory, but a lot of members want to be able to develop color and then scan it right there. So yeah, that's about it. I don't want to take up a lot of time. If there's any questions, anybody, please ask. Nope. Do you see
I
questions?
have a question. Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah.
How is your ventilation?
Oh, we put in a good fan system. I mean, I don't know that we hadn't had it tested by some health department or whatever, but we have fans, sucking air above the sinks, above the developing room sink.
Okay.
We made that really important, and
Oh, good.
yeah, I don't think nobody's ever complained that it's bad in there. Yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate that you guys have opened up a dark room. I use the dark room at the Moldova Art Center. I just take as many classes as possible, and we don't have that many in Portland, and they're in high demand. There's a lot of film people out there, so that
Yeah.
sounds great.
Oh, and I forgot to mention we have classes too. I mean, we have beginning film photography classes. We have cameras that we can loan people if you don't happen to have a film camera. We have like we did a cyanotype workshop and we did a Polaroid transfer workshop. So we got a lot of fun things going on there. And yeah, so yeah, I know Multnomah Art Center is great. I know there's, you know, some community colleges that have darkrooms still. We're not trying to step on other people's toes, but we feel like there's a demand that's not being met in terms of people wanting to use darkrooms. So spread the word, please.
Sure. The Multnomah Art Center only has 4 enlargers, and it is
Yeah.
a tiny little room. I'm going to be there tomorrow night, and it's when we're full, it's shoulder to shoulder in the dark for 3 hours. So, yeah, other options are great.
Thank you. Yeah, come on up and check it out, please. And you can email me. I think if you go to the website, I can just real quick in the chat put the email address. It's just manager@franklinphoto.org. And you can email and either Jason or I will respond to you. Yeah, there it is. All right. Well, I don't want to take up a lot of your time. I know you got a lot of cool things to talk about here, but thanks for having me. If there are any other last questions, let me know.
Thank you, Bobby. That's really awesome to hear about your new place. And I hope people come. I'm not a film photographer, but I'm so tempted to start going in that direction because what else do you need to learn to do? So I'm really happy to hear about that.
And Dawn, I would really stress to people, I mean, we're going to have a show next month of digital photographs in our gallery. So we have a gallery space. If you want to submit for a show, we're really focused on Portland and the Portland photo community. And you should come up and come to one of our movies, one of our critiques. We're not like scorning people who come in with stuff shot with their digital camera, their phone, or however they make it, you know, so.
Yeah.
I'd like to
I make a good outing.
Dawn. Hey, Dawn. I wanted to mention too that Bobby told me that they can do custom classes. So if there was interest in PPF in learning darkroom skills or relearning old darkroom skills, we could schedule a class just for members of our group.
Yeah.
Kind of a fun outing. So I think Kathy would be the person to talk to if you were interested in working up something like that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Great idea.
Come on.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bobby.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so now on to our program. Tonight is member speaker night, and the topic is alternative processes. We will have time for questions and comments after each. First up is Carla Christian. Carla is a photo-based artist whose work explores ideas about our inner geography and the spaces around us. Carla works with both contemporary digital photography tools and alternative photographic processes such as cyanotype, platinum, palladium. I practiced that word all afternoon and then I buggered up. Carbon, lumen, film, and Polaroid. So Carla, let's see what you have.
Thank you. Everybody can hear me okay? Thanks for having me speak tonight. It will be fun to share a little bit about what I do. I get a lot of questions sometimes. I work in alternative process printmaking, but I will say that I'm not a purist, and I blend historical and experimental photographic techniques with modern digital tools. And sometimes that even creates a process that goes back and forth between them. Sometimes I start digitally and end up in film, or I start in film and end up in digital. So that exploration of the process is part of what's interesting to me. So where to begin? Let's see, I'm going to share my screen. Says I'm screen sharing.
Yes, we have you.
You see it?
Yes.
Okay. I can't see it. Okay. So the first step that I took into working kind of outside of just straight digital or straight film was working in digital negatives for silver gelatin printing. And I was actually taking a class from Bobby Abramson. He taught at Clark College. And I was like a challenge. And so Bobby teaches a lot of darkroom in the class, which was what I was looking for. I really wanted to get back into the darkroom. And I heard about digital negatives, and I was really intrigued by this opportunity to kind of blend shooting digitally and then printing analog prints. That really appealed to me. So I started a project, and I've also always been really interested in printmaking and kind of a lifelong maker. I just really like making things with my hands. So making handmade prints is really, really appealing. But the first step in this is learning to make digital negatives. Get this alive. So I used this book called Easy Digital Negatives. It's not easy. I think he's just trying to sell books. It's actually really complicated and really finicky, but it's also really interesting and it's really fun. I imagined that you would just take an image, convert it to black and white, invert it, and you would have a negative. But that is not the case because every emulsion has its own sensitivity level to different tones on the scale from white to black. And you have to create a curve for the emulsion that you're printing on that is different from just a straight 0 to 100. Each step is one sort of curve. You create a custom curve to make your negative print the spectrum of tones that you want. The first step, so for a digital negative, you need something for transparency. There are a couple of them. I like Pictorico. You can get it from B&H Photo. So that is just the one I use. It's a transparency that has a coating on it so that it's made to use in an inkjet printer to make digital negatives. The first step is to figure out what your standard printing time is. So you take a piece of paper and you lay your transparency above half of it, and then you do just like you're doing a test print in the darkroom, where you lay a piece of paper across the bottom and inch that up. And when you find the point where the side that's covered with your transparency is equal to the darkness of the side without a transparency, that is your standard exposure time. So the first step that you have to do is do this little test. Then you have to figure out what the ideal density is. And you start with a negative that looks like this, and you print 3 versions of it, one low density, one high density, and one normal density. And that's what this negative looks like. And then when you print it, you can see, whoops, you look at how these look. Obviously, the black here, the third one from the bottom, is the best color blocker because you can see it left it completely white. It blocked all light from reaching the paper. So that's just the next test that you have to do. Then you use a step wedge. And this is where your curves come in. Whoops, I don't have that negative. So you want to get a spectrum. This is a test print that I made for this first project that I did in silver gelatin. It was very much a learning curve for me, and I think I'd probably do it better if I did it now, just because I have more experience with digital negatives. But this step wedge has 256 values, and what you want to do is create a curve for your negative so that you have an even dispersion of tones from dark to light, which is what gives you a nice looking print. The next step, whoops, finding the most accurate color blocker. So this project was called Time Lapse. And I'll read a little blip about it. As a star in the Earth's galaxy exists in a moment 20 or 30, even a few hundred years ago. The light of the sun is 170,000 years old by the time it illuminates our view. Light from the stars in more distant galaxies can take millions or even billions of years to reach us. When we look at the light of a distant star, we are seeing them as they were in the past. Photos also exist through the veil of time and light. Images reflect a past moment, a brief slice of time. The time-lapse project both illustrates and physically engages with the ruins of a subterranean battery arcade where time and light coincide. The effect of time is visible in the environmental and human impact on the space. In addition, light spills through the penetrations in the concrete bunkers on its journey through the continuum of time. So with this project, I was really enchanted with the way the light spilled through and created, you could, see light traveling through the space. And I was really trying to capture that. And I wanted to print it with this manual process. So what I have to show is first a digital print. And then this is what a negative looks like. You can see it looks really washed out. And then this is a contact print. You make a negative the size of the final print you want to make, and you sandwich it with your paper. And this was sandwiched with silver gelatin paper exposed to the bulb in the enlarger and printed in the darkroom. And there's a digital print, and this is the negative that I made for it. And this is the silver gelatin print. And you can see that they really aren't the same. And that's kind of what I like about it. I like that these prints are imperfect and kind of an interpretation of the image that you made. This is the digital image and the negative that I made from it. And then that's the silver gelatin contact print from the digital negative. And the same, the digital, made a negative and printed. This one was so hard, I tell you. I printed this one like 10 times, and I made test prints, and I reprinted the negative, and I had to go buy more transparencies. And and it was, for some reason, the curve was super hard to get for this one, but that was just part of it, part of the fun, I guess. So that's the digital print, and I made a negative and a silver gelatin print. I feel like there's just kind of a uniqueness. It doesn't just look like a recorded image of exactly what you saw. It has a little bit of interpretation to it. And there's the negative, because it's such a dark image, you end up with really pale negative. And that is the print for that one. So I just have 6 of these. There's the digital print and the negative and the silver gelatin print. So I got really intrigued by this. And the next thing I tried was making lumen prints. And lumen prints are made on expired silver gelatin paper, and they're exposed to UV light. And the paper turns a wide variety of colors depending on what kind of paper you have and how old it is and how it's been stored. And so there's this kind of serendipitous surprise involved. The exposures are pretty long. I made these exposed to the sun. And with lumen printing also, you can incorporate water and chemicals and dyes that affect the results that you get. And so these are all botanical prints. I'm just kind of experimenting with what the kind of results I would get from the paper. And you can see really different colors. And then this is just kind of a leaf. And then I was experimenting with some different things that you could do that would alter the outcome. And I think they're really pretty. They're just a little bit surreal. So as I worked with this, I was exposing images to the sun, which is kind of limiting in the Northwest. So I decided I didn't want to just work on sunny summer days, and really even in the winter on a sunny day, there isn't enough UV value to the light to make an effective print. Plus the sun is lower in the sky, higher in the sky, a cloud comes across. So it's really hard to get a standard exposure using the sun. So I wanted a UV light box so I could control my exposure. So these are the bulbs that I bought on Amazon, and I bought a timer on Amazon. None of these were very expensive. This is the sheet of plywood that I attached the bulbs to. So I graphed it all out and attached the brackets that hold it on there. And I have it all set up. And that's how the lights are all attached. And then they have cords that you can see the cords a little bit because now it's on. And then that's what the finished light box looks like. And this is pretty big. It's like 30 by 36, if I remember right, 30 deep. I think it's 36 wide. I wanted to be able to make big prints. And I didn't anticipate, but actually it's kind of handy that I can make a couple prints at a time also. I like that. And there's a print in there, cooking. Some of these can take a really long time. When you print on silver gelatin paper in with film in the darkroom, your exposures might be, I might be remember it wrong. You might have to correct me, Bobby, but like 10 seconds or 15 seconds, or you're counting it in seconds, but you're counting it in minutes with UV sensitive processes. So then I took this botanical material and I thought, well, I want to try cyanotype. So I use this. You can mix your own emulsion from just the plain chemicals as well. They're powders. And so you need PPE because you don't want to inhale the powder. And this is just so easy. It's really non-toxic. And this bottle says you can make like 25 prints. I don't know what I'm doing differently, but it'll last a year. I can make a lot of prints with a set of these. And you can alter your prints by bleaching them. It allows you to do some bleaching and toning. And this is, I just use this laundry, $5 from the grocery store, washing soda. And it's not a literal bleach like bleach you use on your clothes. It's a basic cyanotype, likes an acidic environment. And so when you expose it to a basic bath, it bleaches out the color. This was my first attempt. I just thought I would share how awful things can be when you first start something new, and it's okay. It gets better. So you can make botanical cyanotypes with, they're just traditional blue and white. The exposure time for these, for me, my standard exposure time with the box that I built is about 12 minutes. So each print has to sit under the lights for that long. So make some botanical prints like that. You can also do, so this one, I started incorporating water. When you make wet cyanotypes, basically what happens is you can apply all different chemistry like dish soap, vinegar, water. You can incorporate salt. You can incorporate turmeric. Gives it a yellow cast. Saran wrap gives it some texture. You can incorporate all kinds of materials. But the wet cyanotype, once you get it wet, cyanotype develops in water. So once you get it wet, basically anything you got wet starts to develop. And so it develops kind of at uneven times and you end up with these different colors. And you end up, and the moisture causes the chemistry to create these interesting shapes. So the exposure time for these wet cyanotypes is 2 hours plus. It takes a very, very long time to get a full exposure on these. And you can see how interesting the background gets. I think they're really pretty. This is a double exposure, so I coated and exposed it twice. Gives it a little bit different look. And this one, I put some bubble wrap. Yep, you put the plants down and then whatever wet stuff you're going to put on there, and then you put glass on top of that to smash it to the paper so that it's sharp. So there's some bubble wrap in that sandwich. And there's some mesh. It was probably from an onion bag or some avocados or something. This is what they look like after they've been sitting in the sun. The cyanotype goes on kind of a light green color, and as it cooks, it turns inverts to kind of a grayish brown color. And then that's what those look like after they're exposed. You develop them just in water. And after the water bath, that's what they look like. That's one that's under the saran wrap that got cooked. That's after it's been developed in water. Cyanotype oxidizes over the next day or two. So when you first make it, it's lighter. You can add hydrogen peroxide to a bath and put it in, and that will oxidize it immediately so you can see your final print. Or you can just let it wait, and in a day or two, it will look the same way anyway. And that's a little video I made that kind of shows the start to finish of making one of these. And this is just dish soap, and it creates this sudsy, bubbly look. And turmeric will stain the paper with some golden colors in it. And that's after the exposure. You can see how there's a lot of grays and browns. And that's when it's fully exposed, it kind of inverts past the dark blue and goes into these grays and browns. That's how you know it's done. That is the finished print. Then when you take it out of the light box and put it in water to develop it, they take maybe a minute, not very long, but I spread it out. You can see the blues turning more blue and the browns and grays turning more golden. So I'm going to give this a hydrogen peroxide bath, and you just put a dollop in there. It really doesn't matter, like half teaspoon, teaspoon in a tray. It is not something that really makes a big difference, how the precision. So you're going to see it turn into a fully developed dark blue cyanotype once it goes in this solution. It still has the gold tones from turmeric and from being in water, from being wet during development. It's either this what you started and what you finished. Sometimes I'll make I really like gold with the blue and white. So I kind of played around with some botanical cyanotypes that incorporate gold. I like crafty projects, so I incorporated cyanotype. These are just blown eggs that I coated with cyanotype solution, and then I put plant material on there, wrapped in saran wrap, and they were exposed to the sun. And that's cyanotype on fabric with sashiko stitching, and the same thing. And cyanotype on vintage papers, and more just cyanotype papers and made to an ornament. This is a book. It's a Japanese bound book with a stab binding and a gold lining. So those are kind of some things I played around with. I made this for a show, and I just played around with these gloves to kind of make hands that were expressing something. After I was making, and kind of along the way, as I was making the botanical cyanotypes, I wanted to make digital negatives for cyanotypes so I could print photographs. So again, the first step is to figure out your standard exposure. And I had to find the point where on the right, you can see at the bottom, it's much lighter on the right than on the left. And that's where the transparency, Pictorico transparency was covering the right side. You want to find the spot where the right side is just as dark as the left side. And it's numbered, and 12 is like in here. So technically it's like up in here, but what I actually found was my best standard exposure was about 12 minutes. And otherwise it seemed like it got overexposed. Then you print, print this as a negative on Pictorico, and you use it to test the quality of your emulsion coating that you brush onto the paper. And you can test the quality of your paper for printmaking, for cyanotype printing. So these are just different papers. This is, I think this was Arches Platine. There are some papers that are really made for alternative process printmaking. You can technically print on any unbuffered cotton paper, but some are better than others. So this, I think this was Arches Platine, and this was Hahnemühle Platinum Rag. This was a cheap paper. It's called Canson XL Watercolor. So you can see on this how the lines are kind of fuzzy and not very sharp, and the coating just looks a little grainier. And that's the quality of the paper. I don't use this for printing photographs because I don't think I get good results, but I use it a lot when I want to do botanical prints, because the botanical prints are kind of hit or miss. You don't really know what you're going to get, so you don't really, I don't want to use an expensive piece of paper and not have control over the process. So this is the paper I like to use for that. And then this is Burger Cot 320. And Burger Cot 320 is my preferred paper. That I have kind of just settled into that most of the time because I know the results, and it's a really nice heavy paper. So then the other thing you want to find is the best color blocker. Surprisingly, it's not always black. Sometimes the best color blocker is green or red. So you print this as a negative, and then you make a cyanotype print of it. And so you can see the pattern here. And the best color blocker is the one that, the white is where the color was blocking the light. And over here, it blocked it way down to this tone. So this is your best color blocker. This one over here went even lower, but what you can see here is what's called an inversion. And so even though the color, let's see, it's number 20. So even though over here on number 20, you're going from light to dark, but the ability to block color isn't linear with this spectrum of tones in this color. So if you print your negative in this color, you're going to get an inversion where some tones that should be kind of getting lighter are actually getting darker. So anyway, what I settled on is black, because that's over here on the right. And what I like about it is you can see some of these are like dark blue, and then a couple other shades, and then white. You just don't have a good range. And I felt like the black had the most inherent range to it, so that when I made a curve, then I just felt like I got the best prints that way. So that's another step in testing. And then you print this to create your curve. I use a gradient map on Photoshop. You use this, you expose a piece of coated cyanotype. The first one you're going to get is like the one on the left, and you can see how there's a whole bunch of dark at the top and a whole bunch of white at the bottom, and just a little bit of gradation in the middle. And that's what it'll print. If you just take a black and white photo and you invert it to make a negative and you print, that's what you're going to get. And it's going to be super contrasty. So then you use this to measure your tones and create a gradient map, which the book goes into in detail, but I'll just say you use this to kind of spread out your spectrum of tones and create a new version of this with your new gradient map applied. And the second print was this, and you see there's a much better range of tones from dark to light. And once you have that where you want it, then you're ready to use that gradient map on your photographic negatives. Here, where I pointed out how you can get an inversion, I used a color that inverts, and that's what that looks like. You don't get an even gradation of your tones. So I started printing and toning photographs. This is an example of a straight cyanotype on the bottom, and then on the top, I think I toned it in coffee. And then here's what it looks like straight out of the wash as a blue cyanotype. And then I toned this in green tea. Coffee gives it kind of a blue black, and green tea gives it a more sepia brown tone. So you can make decisions. This one was a mix of coffee and green tea. And this one was green tea. You can kind of choose. This was a mix. And this had a little more coffee, and you can see it has a little more bluer tone. So when you're printing, this was coffee, so you can see how blue that is compared to the more brown ones. This was yerba mate. Yerba mate is actually one of my favorites. It's a really beautiful, you know, with warm highlights and bluer shadows. I really like it. Same, yerba mate is that one. This was coffee. And you see how much bluer it is. Coffee really prints blue. And this was, I believe this was black tea. So you can give it a bath and a toner and print your cyanotype in one tone, or you can make separations of your color photo and print multiple color cyanotypes. You're kind of limited. You don't have every color in the world, but you can get a few colors because you start with blue. So there's cyanotype's blue, that gives you blue. When you bleach cyanotype, it turns yellow. So that's your yellow layer. You got blue, yellow. So really you need red. It's hard to get red, and the reds you get are kind of muddy, but there are some toners that will bind to the chemistry, the iron and the chemistry, and allow you to tone in kind of a reddish tone. So, and you can use your avocado pits. You can use, plants from your garden. You can use an amazing array of plants to tone your cyanotypes. And that's one of the things I love about it, is how organic it is. It's all non-toxic, and using things that you have. When I started getting interested in more types of toning, this is kind of the Bible. Annette Golaz did tons and tons of testing of different botanical materials and made this extensive chart and tested them with hard water and with soft water. And so it really shortens the curve to figure out what's going to give you the results that you want. So these are some antique doilies that my grandmother had made that I inherited. And so I used them to print kind of layered prints just to test the color range that I could get with toning with different materials. And so that was just a test. I used, for reds, I used madder root. That seems to be the best. And I order it from a dyer's supply. And that gives you that red in the middle. This is one where I tried, this is one of the first ones I made. And you can see I kind of got a red and I kind of got a yellow. They don't look anything like a print that you make on your inkjet printer, but that's what I love about it. I love that it's just more interpretive and that it's all handmade and it's made from, plants that you can find in your backyard. It seems kind of like magic to me. This is a little more saturated than the real print looks, but it's just layers that it's a photo negative and then some plant material combined. And you can see that the bleach layer turned yellow. It doesn't get this saturated. I'm not sure what happened to this photo. This is just another layered one of the same bunny. I was kind of playing around with them, layering photos and plant materials and colors. This is two tones. This is blue and yellow. So the blue is always your last layer. So I make two negatives, one yellow, one blue, and I coated and I used my yellow negative and printed it, and then I bleached it all the way back to yellow. When you're bleaching it with washing soda, you can always stop halfway and you get a split tone that's kind of part yellow, part blue. But this one I bleached all the way back to yellow. And then I had a blue negative. And so I recoated it and I aligned my blue negative and exposed it again and washed it. And this is the print that I got with 2 colors. When you can make some really cool prints with 2 colors. You just have to start with an image that works with that palette. And this one I used some madder root. I had a madder root layer. I think I had 3 layers. And the yellow didn't come through very strongly in this one. But I really like sort of the plummy mauve-y tones that showed up there. So this is a project I've been working on for a little while that I call Winter Lake. There's a lake near me. I don't know how many of you are in Clark County. It's called Vancouver Lake, and it's on the west side of Vancouver, and there's a lot of fish and wildlife land down there. There's cool parks and a couple areas that get kind of busy, and the rest of it's kind of near the Port of Vancouver with all the industry, and it's you know, kind of on the other side of it. It's kind of a little bit of a rough area, but then you get down there and it's all just open land, and it's not too far from my house, and so it's someplace that I really love to go to just get out and have some open space. So this project is a meditation on the spare, serene beauty of the oak bottoms in wintertime. I incorporated the materials of the place by using the acorns of the white oak to tone the cyanotype prints. Acorns are rich in tannins, and they produce a warm highlight and blue-black shadows. And this, I don't know what happened to this. It got really flickery. This is the Vancouver Lake area. Okay, so I gathered acorns. I wasn't sure how many acorns it would take. So I have like a 40-pound bird food bag that I filled with acorns, which is more than I think I'll need in a lifetime. So hit me up if you need some white oak acorns. Trying to grow a tree maybe. So when I'm going to use them, I use a nutcracker to split them open, and I measure them. And because for this, I want to be a little bit precise so it's reproducible. So I measure 100 grams per 8 cups of water, and I use distilled water so that I can control how hard or soft the water is, because that does make a difference in the toning. And then I created this series of prints. And that is that project. The next project I'm going to show you, as part of my always trying something new, I also like to play around with Polaroids. And this is the Journeys project. I have this Polaroid camera. I don't know if you've heard of the Buy Nothing group. It's a Facebook group where people give away one person's trash is another person's treasure. So somebody was giving away a Polaroid camera and I'm, jumping up and down like, I want that. And it's quite old, but the nice thing about these old Polaroid cameras is they use 600 film where the battery's in the film pack. So there's really not much on the camera to not work. And it works. It worked great. And I just had to get some film for it. The other tool that I have is this Polaroid Lab. And this allows you to print images from your smartphone. You just have an app on your phone and you place it on the top up here, face down, and it prints your phone image onto Polaroid film. It's kind of a neat way to expand what you can do with it. The prints, when I make a photograph from the old Polaroid camera, they're quirky and the colors are all weird, and I kind of like that. And when I print a Polaroid with this, the colors are great. Your iPhone has all the algorithms in it to edit your photos for you and make your dynamic range, huge, and so you end up with kind of a perfect Polaroid print, which to me is a little bit weird. So this is a series called Journeys. It uses instant photography to explore the passage of time and its transformative effects. As these Polaroid images age and interact with their environment, they evolve, revealing new layers and stories. I invite you to look beyond the surface and discover the stories embedded in the images. Each piece is a testament to the power of time and transformation, and I hope they inspire you to appreciate the subtle and imperfect beauty of your own journey. And this, I have not done a whole bunch on this. I have 5 images I'm kind of happy with. And then I did some Polaroid transfers. And you can see how the colors are, they're not vivid. The coast is always a little muted, but it's especially kind of shifted to one narrow band of tones. But I kind of like that about it. And this is another one. This is one that I printed from the lab. And you can see the colors are so different, right? They're like really saturated, lifelike colors. And I was just sort of playing around with what would happen if I did this. And I took it all apart in a different way that sort of left this border of the metal strips. And I was just playing around with a different look. But that is where I'm going to stop. I think that I'm at the end of my time. And does anybody have questions?
Carla, this is Giannis, and I have a couple of questions. First of all, thank you. Like this, you put a lot of work into your presentation here with the little videos and all that kind of stuff. So a big thank you for, for all the effort that you put into this presentation. Thank you. Hats off to you. The one question that I have, well, actually I have a couple, but the one I'll ask is, like when you were doing the layered toned cyanotypes, maybe I was kind of dozing off or something, but maybe I didn't quite understand. It's like you're photographing through different cyanotype negatives that represent the colors, or what are you doing?
I mean, you could it would be like a double exposure. So I won't say that's not what you did, because you could do that. Then you would have a double exposure effect. But what I did for the 2-tone or 3-tone cyanotype is I took my color digital image and I made separations, and they're red, green, or red, it's red, blue, yellow. And then I just got rid of the red because I had picked an image that didn't need red. If I have an image that needs red, I leave it in there. And then I can make those separations and print 2 separate negatives. And then I coat the paper with my yellow, with intending it to be my yellow layer, and use my yellow negative, bleach it to yellow. And then I coat it again and use my blue negative, and I leave that layer blue. So that's how I get my blue and yellow in a single print. Did that make sense?
Yes, it did. So thank you very, very much. That seems like I think I would have done it a little simpler, but that makes total sense.
Oh, good. If you know a simpler way, do tell me.
No, well, let me figure it out first.
Okay.
Okay,
So
Larry
I have
has
a,
his hand raised, running low on time because we still have another speaker. So,
okay, very quick,
Sorry.
for the easy digital negatives. So I had been down that path and, you know, it was a little unclear exactly what you had to do. But there's an artist in Italy, his name is Paolo Sacciaria.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
got the
He has some
videos. It'll
training
make,
materials, right?
yeah, make your life a lot easier. So you know about that. Second question is, have you tried image setter negatives? They're a lot easier than easy digital negatives. And
Well, I've learned it now. I mean, it is a
oh,
little
okay, fair
figure
enough.
out, but
Yeah,
once you figure it out, it works great. So I haven't
okay,
really been motivated to start over to learn a new method.
okay.
Um, but there is more than one method, definitely. So if anybody's interested, and find one just too mind-boggling, there are other methods that take different approaches for sure.
Okay.
I do want to
Yeah.
say, and you made me think, Giannis, I'd like to encourage everybody to present your work here because it was really wonderful prompt for me to make sure I got things photographed and look back over my work and really give some thought to what this journey is that I have followed that got me from point A to where I am today and kind of what's important about that to me. And so it was really a great experience to prepare for it.
Okay, thank you so much, Carla, for like such an amazing presentation. There's so much there. I mean, I had no idea this existed. I don't even do this kind of work, and I think, well, how fun. So I'm sorry, I have to move it on. We've got Paul Cunningham coming up to do his presentation. Carla, do you want to
For
take
some
down?
reason, I don't have an unshare here. I know what happened, I think.
And if there's more questions, so we can do that after Paul's presentation.
I don't see stop share. There it is.
There it is.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No. So we have, hold on, I got all this. Okay, so we have Paul Cunningham. Intention defines Paul's approach to photography, whether capturing a postcard-like landscape or a musician's portrait. He feels deliberate effort results in deeper understanding of the subject. He finds joy in exploring processes and materials, expanding his creativity. Paul teaches platinum palladium workshops at Lightbox Photographic Gallery in Astoria. Okay, Paul, we are ready for your presentation.
Okay, hi everyone. Nice to be here. Really, can you hear me fine? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Really great to be here. I'm really impressed with the works that I've seen from everybody in this group. It's inspiring for sure. And Carla's presentation was great. I'm glad that Carla, you went over the digital negative stuff because that is the biggest black hole an artist can go down or a photographer can go down. And once you have it dialed in, it can be really straightforward. And I'm going to actually do a little demo here and with a digital negative. And but getting to that point can be a real challenge sometimes. So let me see if I can share some things here. Okay, good. Can you see that okay?
Paul, I see it on your index, but I don't see it on the big screen part.
Okay, let's see here.
I don't see anything either, just a big black.
Okay, working on it here.
Your screen says double click to enter full screen mode.
I think that's.
Yeah, you might try that. Hmm.
Sometimes I think you have to go to the part you're going to show off of this.
Yeah, it always works great when it's not live, right?
Yes, yes.
Are you, let's see, is it set up that I can share my screen?
Don, you're muted.
Okay. Okay, I've seen that you have shared your screen, but we haven't seen your actual screen.
Yeah, I'm
This
trying
will-
to think. I'm trying to think what I can do here now to fix this. Maybe,
Does anybody know?
I don't think anybody can probably help me here. Let's see.
I've never seen it do this before. I spend a lot of time on Zoom for work and I've never seen it get stuck. It's almost like it's stuck.
Yeah, why don't, how do you feel about me leaving and I'll come right back?
Only
Yeah, you can
sync.
do that. Yeah. Well, how about just like closing down the screen and then try again if that doesn't work? Like exit.
Can you see my hand there? No.
No. Well,
It's in the thumbnail.
Yeah. Okay, give me just a second.
we did practice it and it was working.
I know, and it was
Yeah.
working this morning too, for sure.
So weird that
It's part of it is that this, I think this equipment gets hot and then it gets bothered. That could be part of it. I apologize for that. I think I'm going to leave the Zoom meeting and come back into it.
Okay.
If you exit sharing, it might
I will be
work
right.
in speaker view.
sorry about that, everyone.
It's amazing how long, relatively that we've been working with Zoom and Teams and everything, and we still have stuff like this happen.
Oh, I know. It should be easier.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I gotta let him in. Okay.
He's muted now.
He's back. He's muted.
Okay, I'm unmuted,
Here we go.
but let's see if we can see if I can get this to full screen again. Ah. Just the thumbnail.
Yep. Are you on a phone or are you on a laptop?
No, I'm on a laptop, and I have another piece of software in here because I have a couple of cameras running, and that's part of the problem, I think. So
Yeah.
If you exit,
now
if you
I'm-
exit sharing, the speaker view shows it fairly large.
Yeah.
I know that
I mean-
there's a, my boss does it. There's a way to
I'm-
like show the speaker's camera.
I'm gonna leave and come right back again.
There. Oh, it was there for 2 seconds.
Must be really frustrating for him.
Yeah, it's too bad. The meeting is probably gonna run over, or we move Paul to another meeting slot. I might have to do that. Because I want to be sure that he gets to have at least 35 minutes plus, questions and answers for both.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to make sure he has enough time. to-
Yeah, I don't want him to have to rush through either.
I feel the same way. I vote for just delaying at this point.
Okay, I'll talk to him when he comes back.
Is it scheduling stuff is so hard, but is it possible to do like a quick meeting just for him?
Yeah,
Or do you kick it into next?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, we've never done that as far as I know, but
I'm also new to the group, so if I'm throwing ideas out.
no. Hey, it's good. Oh, it's good that you're doing that. That's okay.
Yeah, maybe the best would be just to reschedule him for a future date
I think so.
for
that's how-
the regular meeting time when we have a gap, an opening, and
Yeah.
we need somebody.
And Don, we can talk about it on the schedule and look it over and see how we can fit him back in.
Okay, I think we can put it back in. I mean, we can move.
Even if you shuffle somebody else to a different date, yeah.
Yeah, we can make it work.
We can make it work. He hasn't come back yet. He's having trouble. He had practiced with me, and then he had practiced with his wife, and he said he got it all figured out. But unfortunately, once you get into this situation, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
Did anybody have any questions they wanted to ask Carla still while we're
Well, I would just say that I love the cyanotypes. I think of all the stuff that you presented, those were just marvelous. And I really liked where you, I love the blue, the regular, that's what you usually think of when you think of cyanotypes, but I love how that's not always exactly the case. So that was fun to see.
It's very versatile.
It's the first time I've seen somebody do a digital negative. It's just not in my purview, but that was interesting. And where were the barracks? Where did
Well,
you
they're
guys-
at a variety of places. There's some at Fort Stevens.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with those.
There's some, gosh, up and down the coast. I can't even think of where, there's some on the Washington side.
I
Couple,
thought I saw one spot in Port Townsend, did I?
some in Port Townsend,
Mm-hmm.
surprising number.
Yeah.
And they all had the same architect, as far as I can tell.
US military. Sounds about right.
Some
Yeah.
guy with a square.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very interesting. Looks like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. Yeah. And when you start following artists who work with alternative processes and cyanotype, their creativity is just boundless. You know, it's just the range of ideas that people have are
Mhm.
so inspiring.
Al Flory raised his hand, and Paul's coming back, so I'm going to talk to Paul. Paul?
It's on mute.
Hi there.
He's muted.
No, I'm not muted.
Hi, Paul.
Yes.
We talked while you were out, and we're going to move you to another time slot because we
Okay.
only have 20 minutes or less than 20 minutes left, and we
Okay.
want to give you the full, you know, what your full talk and have everything
Sure.
relaxed. You're definitely up now. I'm so sorry about that.
I'm not sorry about that. I was only mostly prepared, so this would be good.
Okay, yeah, so I think it'll be a good idea. We're going to, the programs committee is going to talk about what month we can put you in, because we do want to hear your talk, okay?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
I'm
it's
really
not a problem. I appreciate that Carla went into good depth on her subject, so it sort of sets the stage for next time.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so I'm quite good with that.
Okay, good. Oh, thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Al Flory had a question for Carla.
Yes, I just wondered, using all the different plant-based toners, which are, I'm wondering about the archival quality of them and whether that is a concern for you or not a concern. Do you document changes and, over time, and just commenting on that type of issue?
Yeah, my understanding is that they are just as archival as straight cyanotype, which is very archival. There are cyanotype prints that are 150 years old and unchanged. And my understanding is that when you tone it, the tannins bond to the iron in the chemistry, and it creates an even more archival print. You just have to make sure that you rinse it really well, because you don't want any of the other plant chemistry, left in the paper. But the print itself is archival. But cyanotypes can fade if they're hung in direct sunlight or bright location. And I haven't had to try this. My understanding is you can just put them in a dark closet and they'll turn dark again. So I guess I should fade one just to try it and put it in my closet. But I haven't had to try it, thank goodness.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone have any other comments or questions?
Thank you, and I look forward to Paul's presentation.
Oh, I do have one comment to make. I know we didn't really get to see the whole process, but I will be doing a workshop this weekend. That one's sold out. This is at Lightbox Gallery. Hang on, sorry. But there is another one scheduled for April, and that will be April 18th and 19th in Astoria. It's about the platinum process, platinum palladium printing process. It's very hands-on. I make the digital negatives, which is the hard part, and then you get to print maybe 4 or 5 different images that you have and want to try. So if you've already done platinum palladium printing and you just want some more time doing that, all materials are supplied. So it's a great way to, and it's great for beginners. So it's just easy to do. It's a great workshop. Yeah, that's it.
Great. And I'm sure that's on Lightbox.
That's on, yes, that's on
Website.
that's on Lightbox's site. Also, if you have your camera and you see that little, well, I guess it's too small, the QR code there. But it's either on Lightbox's website, or you can go to my website at thecunninghampress.com,
Okay.
and that'll work.
It's fun learning new things like that. It is.
Yeah, and I make it as easy as possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sponsored with Bostic and Sullivan and Hahnemühle paper. So they both supply materials for that, which is a great endorsement and also keeps the cost down.
Oh,
That,
yeah.
that QR code worked perfectly.
Oh, great. Good. Small.
So I took a Polaroid class a few months ago, and it's a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah.
It really is. And then doing alternative processes, sticking them in chemicals and see what you could do to destroy them. So it was a lot of fun. So learning to do that would be awesome.
Do we have 5 minutes?
We have 5 minutes.
Maybe if I can screen share, I have a 5-minute video I'd like to show you if that works.
Okay.
Well, I'll see, right? Maybe not. Okay, I guess not.
Okay.
I'll put the link down here in the chat.
Okay, and we'll and Kathy and I will find you a spot so you can do your talk, because we do want to hear what you have to say. So that being said, the next thing we've got going on is Print Share, which is April 7 from 6 to 8 at Multnomah Arts Center. I was going to say Athletic Club, Arts Center. And so we will see you then. And I will send out an email again about typologies and kind of explain what that is. And then I look forward to the photo challenge. It's a good project to take new pictures for. Go around the neighborhood and take pictures of mailboxes from the same angle and same level, or, yard art, or cars, or all kinds of stuff. Anything, everything. They just all have to be the same type. Okay.
Okay, I put that in the chat.
There's the
yes. Scroll down all the way to the bottom of that page and click on the last video in there.
Got it. Okay. thecunninghampress.com/videos.
That's it.
Perfect. Okay, everyone. Have a good night, and I will see you next time.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.